that's why the board, including your dad, will turn around and say, I think this is the reason why we need to do this process as opposed to another process. Okay? But that, it will be a board decision eventually. I don't think it will be on this site. I think it will be eventually on the junior side. Not desirable. I think we've got more playground space on the side to accommodate more children, but it's probably because money is going to just determine. You know? You can't always get what you want. I'm sure that you go to your mums and dads for Christmas sometimes and you say, listen, I love this as a present, but you can't always get it. You get what mum and dad can afford sometimes or what they think is necessary. And that's the way it is. And you've got to be realistic.
Which design did you like last week and why? I
like the wall. I think it's important that your mums and dads see those. They go. Some of them I saw up here on the big screen. Some of them I saw on one had difficulty be able to get it onto the even onto the screen over here on the computer over here. Or was it the one on the back? I can't remember. But some people had difficulty in displaying all those. But what I do believe is that when we have the Science Technology exhibition at the end of the month, next month, about 16th of September.
Something like that.
Yeah, so it's only about 3 weeks away. That we have set up in the hall those designs. Probably get some form of screen to put or a wall space where you can actually show your designs. I think your mums and dads will be really impressed. So would others. Yep.
How many ideas were given to you by the students around the school?
We haven't taken any ideas from students at the present time. Basically, all they have done, the process at the present time is find a site, look at a location. This is what the instruction of the ministry is. Get a location. Now get an estimate of what it would cost. And if you have you looked at Mr. Clifford's designs, they're not grand designs. In other words, he hasn't gone into huge detail. He said, here is a series of boxes, and we will arrange them in a certain way. Option 1, we will put 2 rooms downstairs, 1 room upstairs. And it has this grand sloping route coming forward this way towards the field. And he's got the corridor extending across the back of from the 2-storey block. So if you look at room 9, it finishes at about where the room 9's door is. He brings it right across the back of room 9 and then comes down here where your little cloakroom area is. Okay? Design number 1. Design number 2, and this room would be gone, but it would be pushed back that way slightly over the terraces, so it goes down over two terraces. Design number 2 was put 2 rooms upstairs and 1 downstairs, and at the front have a covered space. That option is more expensive. Why? Because you're putting more buildings in, but not by much. Surprising, not by very much. So that's as far as it's gone. It hasn't gone down to say, well, hey, listen, we're going to have this on the wall and other bits and pieces. It's an estimate. A quantity survey says, well, the standard classroom has softboard, pinboard displays in it. It will have a sink in it. It will have carpet in it. Those sorts of things. And you say, well, this is what it's going to cost to build that sort of room. So that's we haven't gone down to the detail. And some of your designs have gone down to detail. And the detail comes later. Once you've actually decided, yes, this is the option I'm going to go for, then we'll talk about what goes on. Okay? So at the present time, you're just a little bit ahead of where we are.
Do you think it's a good idea to bring architects into the classrooms to see what we have in our classrooms before they think what we should have in our classrooms?
I wish architects would always listen to what you have to say. the actually interesting point is when we designed the hall, for instance, you might remember downstairs there was a completed room which was used for music to start off with, and then there was an empty space which was actually going to become a future classroom. The reason we didn't prefer to have that as a classroom because the amount of noise which was actually going to go on the court. And if a teacher was in there and a group of children in there the whole time, they would have children doing physical sport outside your classroom all the time. That's why we prefer to have it as music or library or some other activity where people just go for a short period of time and they're out again. Now, when they designed the room, they said, "Oh, what do you want your classroom to look like?" And we said, "Well, how about you come in and have a look inside the two-storey block? It's going to be it'll be much like this. In other words, you've only got these rooms here. They've got no windows on that side. So your access is going to be out from one side. In that case, it's out from the court, on one side out of the courts. Now have a look at the room and see what's there. Look at the walls, how the walls are put up there. Look at there's a sink, there's wet space, there's those sorts of things." So when they finished it, the first thing I noticed, I walked straight in there. I said, they said they're finished. I said, "Have you finished?" "Yes, we're finished." I said, "Well, what's missing?" I said, "There's something missing in here. You haven't put in." "I don't know." So let's come into room 7 and have a look at what your brief was. Come into room 7 and have a look around. Now, so what's in this room that couldn't be in your room? It's furniture, yes. Okay, well that's straightforward. It'll come later. All this children's work. Good. And how's children's work displayed in the classroom?
On a wall.
On a wall. What's on the wall enable them to put the displays up?
Pinboard.
Pinboard. Guess what wasn't in the music room?
A pinboard.
There was no pinboard whatsoever. There was no place to actually pin. As I said, that's where you need to say to people, this is what has to be in here. And so architects don't always listen to what you have to say. They need to be reminded sometimes. Absolutely. Wonderful. I bet your parents couldn't do better in most cases. And why? Because you are living the modern classroom. They are living in the classroom of 30 years ago. Okay. The classroom that I went to when I was your age, I was let me describe the classroom. What shall I describe? I'll describe a room at Royal Oak Primary School. The windows were high. They had windows on one side, they had a corridor down the other. A little bit like our junior school. High windows with those sort of louvered opening windows on one side going into the corridor. On the other side, there was the windows were, excuse me, the windows were about this height. So children sitting in the room couldn't see out. So if you heard a noise outside, all the children stood up to have a look to see what was going on outside, because they couldn't see out the window. There was a blackboard across the front.